Hi, I'm Christopher Lindsay, and on behalf of the Rosenbach, I'm happy to be reading from James Joyce's Ulysses, Episode 10, The Wandering Rocks. William Humble, Earl of Dudley, and Lady Dudley, accompanied by Lieutenant Colonel Heseltine, drove out after luncheon from the Viceregal Lodge. In the following carriage were the Honorable Mrs. Paget, Miss De Courcy, and the Honorable Gerald Ward, A.D.C., in attendance. The cavalcade passed out by the lower gate of Phoenix Park, saluted by obsequious policemen, and proceeded past Kingsbridge along the northern quays. The Viceroy was most cordially greeted on his way through the metropolis. At Bloody Bridge, Mr. Thomas Kiernan, beyond the river, greeted him vainly from afar. Between Queen's and Whitworth bridges, Lord Dudley's viceregal carriages passed and were unsaluted by Mr. Dudley White, B.L., M.A., who stood on Erin Quay outside Mrs. M.E. White's the pawnbroker's at the corner of Erin Street West, stroking his nose with his forefinger, undecided whether he should arrive at Phibbsborough more quickly by a triple change of tram or by hailing a car or on foot through Smithfield, Constitution Hill, and Broadstone Terminus. In the porch of Four Courts, Richie Goulding, with the cost-bag of Goulding, Collis, and Ward, saw him with surprise. Past Richmond Bridge, at the doorstep of the office of Reuben J. Dodd, solicitor, agent for the Patriotic Insurance Company, an elderly female about to enter changed her plan and, retracing her steps by King's window, smiled credulously on the representative of His Majesty. From its sluice in wood quay wall under Tom Devon's office, Pottle River hung out in fealty, a tongue of liquid sewage. Above the cross-blind of the Ormond Hotel, gold by bronze, Miss Kennedy's head by Miss Douce's head watched and admired. On Ormond Quay, Mr. Simon Dedalus, steering his way from the greenhouse for the sub-sheriff's office, stood still in mid-street. He brought his hat low. His Excellency graciously returned Mr. Dedalus's greeting. From Cahills Corner, the Reverend Hugh C. Love, M.A., made obeisance unperceived, mindful of lords deputies whose hands benignant had held of your rich advocens. On Grattan Bridge, Lenehan and McCoy, taking leave of each other, watched the carriages go by. Passing by Roger Green's office and Dollard's big red printing house, Gertie McDowell, carrying the Catesby's Cork lino letters for her father, who was laid up, knew by the style it was the Lord and Lady Lieutenant, but she couldn't see what Her Excellency had on because the tram and Spring's big yellow furniture van had to stop in front of her on account of it being the Lord Lieutenant. Beyond Lundy Foots, from the shaded door of Kavanagh's wine rooms, John Wyse Nolan smiled with unseen coldness towards the Lord Lieutenant General and General Governor of Ireland. The Right Honourable William Humble, Earl of Dudley, GCVO, passed Mickey Anderson's all-times ticking watches and Henry James' wax, smart-suited, fresh-cheeked models. The gentleman Henry Dernier-Cri James, over against Dame Gate, Tom Rochford and Nosy Flynn watched the approach of the cavalcade. Tom Rochford, seeing the eyes of Lady Dudley fixed on him, took his thumbs quickly out of the pockets of his claret waistcoat and doffed his cap to her. A charming soubrette, great Marie Kendall, with dowby cheeks and lifted skirt, smiled daubily from her poster upon William Humble, Earl of Dudley, and upon Lieutenant Colonel H.G. Heseltine, and also upon the Honourable Gerald Ward, A.D.C., from the window of the D.B.C. Buck Mulligan gaily and Haines gravely gazed down on the viceregal equipage over the shoulders of eager guests, whose massive forms darkened the chessboard whereon John Howard Parnell looked intently. In Fowne Street, Dilly Dedalus, straining her sight upward from Chardonnel's first French primer, saw sunshine span and wheel spokes spinning in the glare. John Henry Menton, filling the doorway of commercial buildings, stared from wine-big oyster eyes, holding a fat gold hunter watch, not looked at, in his fat left hand, not feeling it. Where the foreleg of King's Billy's horse pawed the air, Mrs. Breen plucked her hastening husband back from under the hooves of the outriders. She shouted in his ear the tidings. Understanding, he shifted his tomes to his left breast and saluted the second carriage. The Honorable Gerald Ward, ADC, agreeably surprised, made haste to reply. At Ponsonby's corner, a jaded white flagon H halted, and 4 tall-hatted white flagons halted behind him. ELY''S, while outriders pranced past in carriages. Opposite Pigot's music warerooms, Mr. Dennis J. McGinney, professor of dancing and etc., gaily apparelled, gravely walked, outpassed by a Viceroy, and unobserved. By the provost wall came jauntily Blazes Boylan, stepping in tan shoes and socks, with sky blue clocks to the refrain of "My girl's a Yorkshire girl." Blazes Boylan presented to the leaders sky blue frontlets and a high action, a sky blue tie, a wide-brimmed straw hat at a rakish angle, and a suit of indigo serge. His hands in his jacket pockets, forgot to salute, but he offered to the 3 ladies the bold admiration of his eyes and the red flower between his lips. As he drove along Nassau Street, His Excellency drew the attention of his bowing consort to the program of music which was being discoursed in College Park. Unseen brazen Highland laddies blared and drum-thumped after the cortege. But though she's a factory lass and wears no fancy clothes, bada-boom, yet I've a sort of a Yorkshire relish for my little Yorkshire rose, bada-boom. Thither of the wall, the quarter-mile flat handicaptors, M.C. Green, H. Shrift, T.M. Patey, C. Scaife, J.B. Jeffs, G. N. Morphy, F. Stevenson, C. Adderley, and W.C. Huggard started in pursuit. Striding past Finn's Hotel, Cashel, Boyle, O'Connor, Fitzmaurice, Tisdale, Farrell stared through a fierce eyeglass across the carriages at the head of Mr. M. E. Solomons in the window of the Austro-Hungarian vice-consulate. Deep in Leinster Street, by Trinity's postern, a loyal Kingsman hornblower touched his tally-ho cap. As the glossy horses pranced by Marion Square, Master Patrick Aloysius Dingnam waiting saw salutes being given to the gent with the topper, and raised also his new black cap with fingers greased by pork steak paper. His collar too sprang up. The Viceroy, on his way to inaugurate the Mirus Bazaar in aid of funds for Mercer's Hospital, drove with his following towards Lower Mount Street. He passed a blind stripling opposite Broadbent's. In Lower Mount Street, a pedestrian in a brown mackintosh, eating dry bread, passed swiftly and unscathed across the Viceroy's path. At the Royal Canal Bridge, from his hoarding, Mr. Eugene Stratton, his blub lips a grin, bade all comers welcome to Pennbrook Township. At Haddington Road corner, 2 sandy women halted themselves, an umbrella and a bag in which 11 cockles rolled, to view with wonder the Lord Mayor and Lady Mayoress without his golden chain. On Northumberland and Lansdowne roads, His Excellency acknowledged punctually salutes from rare male walkers. The salute of 2 small schoolboys at the garden gate of the house, said to have been admired by the late Queen when visiting the Irish capital with her husband, the Prince Consort, in 1849, and the salute of Almidano Artifoni's sturdy trousers, swallowed by a closing door. On behalf of everyone at the Rosenbach, have a happy Bloomsday.